The most common three words are I will sue you. Four words rather. I will sue you. You need to exercise caution that you should not be worried about your impending EMI at the end of the month. You should be worried about what is best in the we can handle at the first step that cannot be sometimes even handled at the later step even with lots of money as well. एक डेंटिस्ट ही एक डेंटिस्ट का सबसे बड़ा सगा है. Subject J is taught to us. Subject jealousy is taught to us. You should learn to say a no. Thank your stars. Thank your stars. Record keeping is like an instant manual. I always. Poor record is poor defense. No record is no defense. पाँव पे कुल्हाड़ा मार लिया, कुल्हाड़े पे पाँव मार लिया. Are known to be the one who are doing a bungee jumping on the कुल्हाड़ा. खोपड़ी काट लिया, पेशेंट का फाड़ दिया. हम तो पेशेंट को जानते ही नहीं है. So अपने हाथ में जो एक प्रूफ था अपने हाथ से डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया.
Dear listener, today we have Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja sir on our Success Talks. Dr. Ahuja sir speaks a lot on numerous topics and has oceans of knowledge to share with us. Sir, a warm welcome and greetings from my community, Wise Dentist Success Talks with Dr. Ravi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi. The pleasure is all mine.
So, my viewers, today we'll be speaking on the topics such as medical legal aspect, ethics in dentistry, record maintenance, definitely about finance and all these importance. So, sir, shall we start without further ado?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let us start with medical legal aspect first, sir. Within my capabilities, whatever I know is medical legal. I mean, it deals with something that involves both medical as well as the legal aspect, right? So, what is the purpose? Why does anybody lodges a medical legal case against a doctor in a very basic form, if I were to ask you?
There are many reasons for lodging a complaint. From the patient side, the number one reason is your patient dissatisfaction usually. Then there can be a score to settle. People do that always. And there might be then the third reason might be, which is a genuine one, that the patient is actually been aggrieved a lot. Is troubled a lot and has not got the value what he was promised, or rather it has somehow hampered his style of living, especially if it concerns the personal the frontal tooth, frontal teeth, if that concerns that. So when your choice of living is affected, people will naturally feel cheated. So that is the reason they go to court. But yes, I mentioned these days other reasons are also there, and score settling and being dissatisfaction being another two which are most common amongst that.
Okay, sir, if you could tell us like what are all the things to keep in mind, from medical legal aspect point of view?
The only thing is that our Indian courts do not expect us to be Hercules, that we say move the mountains and we do unrealistic things. They always expect what a reasonable person under a reasonable set of circumstances would do. That is what is expected of us. So if the reasonable standard of care is not followed, then surely we fall guilty on account of negligence. And predominantly the things to be taken care of, these only, that we exercise due diligence. We are very cautious in working in our practice. We do maintain a lot of good record keeping. We take our consent from our patient. Usually the written one is the preferred one. Exercise due diligence, follow the acceptable standard of care, and of course indulge in post-operative instructions properly to the patient, so that the patient says knows, and also offer your help in case of any emergency if the patient has any problem even at an odd hour. So the patient would actually not feel cheated or not feel left out. He'll feel, yes, my doctor has taken care of me, and if everything goes well, especially after a post surgical part, always give a 24-hourly call. So these are a few things which may not exactly fall all of them under the medical legal ambit. They are being crossed by the lines of practice management also. But these are the things you actually need to, you can say, you can buy your patient emotionally also, so that the patient knows actually, yes, the doctor is there. So even if by chance you commit a mistake, the patient will surely give you a benefit of doubt. And if you have been very practical, like say we are very professional and very practical, give the money and get the treatment, that kind of attitude is surely going to give me, okay, you, I gave you money, you didn't give me proper treatment, I'm going to court. So that also might be the reason sometimes for the people to go to court. So always build relationships, interpersonal relationships with your patients, not that you go too personal into their lives, but yes, giving lending say conscious feeling of empathy to the patient, so that the patient knows, yes, my doc is there with me always.
Okay, so I can get out like building a good rapport does really helps,
Surely.
preventing from medical legal aspects. Sir, how are these, like, how frequent are these medical legal cases these days?
See, in Western culture, in Western world, the most common three words are "I will sue you." Four words rather, "I will sue you." So that culture is catching up fast. In metros, tier one cities, it is a huge reality. But yes, in tier two and tier three also, it is becoming much common. And it is not always about a 3,000 root canal or a 4,000 root canal, but done whatever that patient would go to court. It is usually about the big ticket cases. We had one case recently, about 1.5 year back in Punjab. A patient got the scaling done for 1,000 rupees, and then went to in Chandigarh, and then went to another dentist in Ambala, and that dentist wrote in written against that first dentist that the stains were not properly removed, and that patient was in fact a lawyer who had actually gone to settle the score. So he went to the court, and the court awarded him 56,000 rupees. 50,000 for the trauma. The biggest head is mental trauma caused, as if people are living in that world where everything is peaceful otherwise. Then 1,000 for that reimbursement of the charges, what he had paid, and 5,000 for the litigation cost. So that dentist had to cover up 56,000 without any reason for that. And who was guilty? Our own colleague, who actually wrote and written. It came to light later on that it was a vendetta to settle a score. The patient's brother's daughter, means the niece, nephew or the niece of a daughter, I mean the niece of the patient, had undergone ortho treatment with the primary dentist, and they believed that the dentist had overcharged them. So that is where it all started, and ended up the dentist cuffing up 56,000 rupees for no fault of his. So such things are also very common.
Yeah, it is very frequent to see, as you said, settling the scores. I mean, nowadays, lot many such cases are seen even in 2-tier and 3-tier cities as well, and it would not be a shock for a dental colleague to see such things coming up in future. Sir, if you could tell us what are the things to keep in consideration to protect ourselves from medical legal aspect in dentistry.
I always say, whenever we have to deal with the patient first, number one thing should be never be in a hurry to start the treatment in the first setting, because we actually don't know. Before the medical legal, for me, the practice management starts in the clinic. Let's look at the holistic picture. The patient, you have done a lot of external marketing, maybe digital marketing. The patient has now walked in through your door. At that point of time, whatever external marketing you have done, that ceases to act. And once the patient is inside your practice, your internal marketing takes over. It is on me or my team to actually then settle the things accordingly as per the patient's interest, so that the patient feels that, yes, I have walked into the right place. And my first thing starts with the patient consultation. And I've written a book also on patient first consultation last year only. So it was published with Lambert Academic Publishing. It's available online in Europe, not in India as yet. But then what the gist of that book for me is that we estimate the patient's needs and wants first. What does the patient want? The patient may have a huge amount of other work to be done, which is actually very serious. But the patient may have walked in for a certain problem, which is actually a trivial one to you. So, but the problem is, we are not going to treat those emergency ones. We are going to treat only that problem for which the patient has walked in. So once the patient has been treated with the 3 E's, I always say, efficaciously, efficiently, and effectively, that patient should then be actually told about the other existing problems, And then the patient makes a call whether I'm satisfied with whatever treatment has been done for my walk into the clinic or for my emergency, what the patient felt as emergency, what you may have felt as trivial. So you do that. So my thing starts from first consultation, followed by a sequence of consultation or the sequence of work done, and then it is followed up by signing of the consent form. And as though those factors I mentioned, due diligence in using the your skill set, obviously, and discretion in your case selection, learning to say a no where you believe that the case is either beyond your skill set ambit or you cannot fulfill patient's expectation. Maybe a tooth which is very close to furcation, that tooth is bound for extraction. The patient says, no, I want to save that tooth. If you save that tooth, you are actually committing yourself to a trap. So you need to exercise caution that you should not be worried about your impending EMI at the end of the month. You should be worried about what is best in the interest of the patient. And that is where the medical legal principles come in. The first medical legal principle is beneficence. That means doing only good. The second medical legal principle, microethical principle, is non-maleficence. That means doing no harm. So these two principles automatically justify that we have to act in the best interest of the patient. And if we do that, and if we communicate that well, हम कर रहे हैं patient के लिए अच्छा, but we are not communicating that to the patient, that why I am doing it, how I am doing it, which way I'll be doing it. If that isn't communicated, the patient has full right to assume or presume whatever he wants to. So it is whatever you do, even in the best interest of the patient, you still have to ask. And that is where the role of patient autonomy or consent comes in. Another micro level principle. So you have to exercise still your due caution. But yes, being a physician, being a dentist, being the, say, in charge of your practice, you decide what is best for the patient and nothing else.
Wow, amazing. I think learning to say no is one of the basic thing which we dentists will have to implement. We'll have to look from the ethical point of view. Definitely, we are going to come ahead with few questions on ethics as well. Okay, sir. Now, there is a scenario like consider if somebody lodges a medical legal case against a dentist, what next? And the scenario is you'll have to cover both the scenario. First, when there is a dentist who is at fault, and second, dentist is not at fault. Like, what should a dentist do next?
See, the first thing is that every one of us should have a professional indemnity policy. That is where the policy comes in to save us. So, okay, and always when the patient lodges you with the problem, take that seriously, because the patient will never directly go to the court unless you have really bossed up the work, unless you have done a real bossed up work and which you know that it is a big failure and you haven't cared to inform the patient. So if it is a normal case, the patient comes to you. My father used to say, nip the evil in the bud. So that is a very common proverb. He said, whatever we can handle at the first step, that cannot be sometimes even handled at the later step, even with lots of money as well, lots of approach as well. You can't do that. So if you can handle that, because then after the first step, if you try to act pricey, then those three heavy words come in, ego, ego, and that is possessed by everyone. If you are a dentist having that, the patient might be having an equally big one. So if you can handle that, but yes, we didn't handle or we couldn't handle that, and the matter goes to the court. If it is a civil case, the matter goes to the Consumer Protection Act, Consumer Protection Court, or consumer courts. So now the jurisdiction level has been raised now. Earlier, it used to be about, say, 10 lakhs up to the district level. Then the state level went up to 2 crores. Now those limits have been revised. I think up to 50 lakhs also now it can be in district court. So the limits have been recently revised only. So not aware of those exactly, but yes, up to 50 lakhs surely in district courts. So if not, then in state and then in the National Consumer Forum. So if the matter is in civil, but if the matter is in criminal, the matter goes to the normal court for criminal matters, and then section 334, 335, 336, causing hurt, causing grievous hurt, they all come into play. And at that point of time, yes, the courts decide whatever it is. But then individual courts are not competent enough to decide whether what you did was wrong or right. So they refer it to an independent medical or dental board who decides whether you fell below the requisite standard of care. And who will decide that? Your documents. So if you are not at fault, you submit all your documents, your record keeping, your consent part. can easily prove that yes, you were not at fault. But if you are not keeping record keeping, if you are not doing any kind of consent signing, then only the board or God can save you. I have an example. My one of good friends is in the local say dental board whenever appointed by court, and he is also appointed by the civil surgeon office as well. So he just 2 days back I was talking to him. He showed me this big pile of letters. These are the piles of paper I received today only, and I received this much pile almost every week. Mark to PMO, mark to CMO, mark to civil surgeon, mark to DCI, mark to the state dental council. So he said, I usually try to save my colleagues. And he's that one brilliant guy who has even saved a colleague from three separated files in 3 canals. You can say the one file is separated maybe because of a mistake. The second may be further mistake. But if someone breaks 3 files in 3 canals, it is gross negligence. That is for sure. But he has saved even that colleague for that. Because I even mentioned that ways, एक डेंटिस्ट का सबसे बड़ा सगा है, whether you want to believe it or not, but that is what is my saying is, and he actually is an embodiment of what this should be there, and he follows that very, very conveniently and very, very comfortably in that manner. So I'm really proud of him. So I told him, now what are you going to do with these pile of papers? He said, some of these complaints I went through, they were really genuine. So what I will do, I'll still not call my colleagues. I will still let these complaints die their own natural death so that people forget it. But if they are certainly there, then I have to revise the answer in the favor of the colleague. But remember, there might not be always a colleague who will be in your favor. Your neighboring dentist might be sitting with whom you are not at good terms. I don't know where this subject is. Subject J is taught to us. Subject jealousy is taught to us in dentistry. I don't know. I haven't studied that. But this is an inherent subject with everyone. We just hate our neighboring dentist. And that is a pitiful situation, by the way. But if we can take control of that, live in a congenial environment, we all have enough opportunity to grow, because that is the reason for the hatred or the jealousy factor. So if you are at fault, then only God can save you. If you are not at fault, your record keeping, your consent, your documentation is your biggest savior.
Wow, seriously, and salute from every dental fraternity and colleague to your friend. Definitely, he's doing an amazing job saving our colleagues. And sir, professional indemnity is something we dentists, we do not take it very seriously. What should be an optimum amount, and which insurance company does it provide? If you can throw some light on that.
There are a lot of companies showing offering you indemnity policy. I recently took a webinar in 2 parts, around 2 hours videos each. They'll go online on around 17th of July. They've already been scheduled. I recently took it up for my WhatsApp group people. So you get it from Oriental, National Insurance, all the nationalized banks usually are offering such kind of policies. Of course, offered by Bajaj also, by other private banks also, or other industry insurance players also. An optimum amount for, I would say, a clinic should be in the range of 30 lakhs. And you get it at the cost of roughly 2000 plus GST, which is roughly 2200 for the year. So just all the parameters, there are a lot of parameters to be taken care of. The AOA, AOI ratio, any 1 year, any one accident, 1:1, 1:2, 1:3, 1:4 maximum, what is there, and along with many other factors. Those are covered in detail in those videos. So I would invite the audience to watch that. We'll be giving the YouTube channel link at the end. So you can definitely go in those, and you will get in-depth knowledge, minutely even covered, all aspects even minutely covered in that.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So all the viewers listening to us, Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja sir's YouTube channel is full of content. You will find as much as you can take it, and you should definitely visit his channel for further in detail things.
The minimum policy that you can get is minimum 10 lakhs. That is available with 700 plus tax also, 700 or 800 plus GST, which is even less than 1000 rupees. So you can take the minimum 10 lakhs if you not want to invest into the higher amount. Usually 3 specialties, exodontia, implants, and endo, root canal. They account for 77% of the negligence cases, mostly as per data. So these three specialty people need to be very cautious. The rest all specialties combined contribute 23% only.
Amazing. Sir, definitely I'm taking lots of notes. Definitely, even though this interview is going to be available for me, but I would not want to waste any minute, points. So I'm jotting it down. I hope you don't mind.
Sure, please go ahead.
We'll go ahead with our next question. It is actually a case study. Consider a dentist, irrespective of whether he or she is new or uh, an experienced one, a dentist who is attempting an extraction of a root canal treated tooth. He's already taken a consent, a general consent signed by patient. So dentist, he or she was unable to complete the procedure. Mostly root canal treated tooth extractions are considered to be a bit, unpredicted. So the dentist was unable, and the dentist has counseled the patient and suggested for a surgical extraction in upcoming days. Patient agreed at that point of time, but does not comes back and lodges a complaint and is also asking for a refund. Now, what should the dentist do in such scenarios?
See, what I advise is that even if the consent is there, before that, I always said exercise due diligence in case selection. So you should learn to say a no. No doesn't mean that you refuse the patient. Refuse yourself first, also in that case, whether you can treat that case or not. If you're not confident, if you know that the root canal tooth is going to break, or if you might need help, always keep a surgeon as a standby, or maybe don't even attempt it. Ask the surgeon only to do it. You have lots of visiting surgeons available who can do it for you. So when you can actually delegate properly, why do you want to do that? Now the second part, as you said, consent has been taken. So whether the consent mentioned that it is a general consent, you said, even if it is a specific consent pertaining to extraction, the normal one which we say commonly encounter over the net, even that would not include that I will remove your tooth in two parts in 2 days. You will never mention over there, yes, if the tooth breaks, I will remove it on the second day via the surgeon or myself. So what is wrong for you to remove on the first day? So when you have not done that, you actually need to realize that the patient might agree, but the other thing, because you have attempted with your whole heart, your whole effort, and you still not have been successful, the patient will have some trauma because of the surgical part. He will have some pain, some swelling, maybe trismus also sometimes if it is a posterior tooth. Sometimes the patient is not willing to come again tomorrow. He might have said yes to us, but then he might meet certain people in his family, of course, his friend circle, or many people on the way back. So who would ask him what went wrong, and then they will actually fuel his mind, and which is actually a mistake on our part first. It should not have been postponed in the first place. So a refund is a very, very easy option to escape in such a scenario. As I said, nip the evil in the bud. The first thing is say refund only, and the matter solved there and then only in such cases where you have been at fault because of incompetence, because of any other reason. If the dentist knows that he's at fault, this is the easiest way to get out. But yes, if those three heavy words come in EGO, then the matter can go even beyond proportions, even you can't imagine over there.
Okay, sir, I have a cross question. Like many of the people, they believe. I had a friend who said कि रवि मैंने ये सब कर लिया और मैंने ना डॉक्यूमेंटेशन के लिए पेशेंट को व्हाट्सएप पे मैसेज डाल दिया कि फ्रॉम माय क्लिनिक्स नंबर दैट टू बी ऑन सेफर एंड कि as discussed at our clinic your procedure has been postponed and so you're bound to have some post extraction complications as well. So are these WhatsApp messages or dropping a mail can be considered as an evidence?
That is fine. These can still be considered evidence. They are admissible in the court of law. Email and WhatsApp messages are there. But the problem is not over there that you can. This is of a method or an attempt to keep your side safe. You yourself have not mentioned anything in the consent that the tooth will be done in two parts.
Right.
It is either level of incompetence that has resulted, or maybe a part of negligence, that you attempted the tooth and you were not in a condition to do that, or you were not in a position to do that. Negligence में दो criteria होते हैं. Either you don't possess the skill that you profess to have, or you don't possess that skill at all. You have written orthodontic specialist. Maybe you're not a PG, wires and braces specialist. So you don't have that specialty and you are doing removable ortho only. So you are misguiding the patient. So you are not possessing the skill that you are claiming to have. And the second way, you are an orthodontist, but you are still doing removable ortho, not confident of doing a fixed ortho, even after doing an orthodontics degree. For example, I'm just presuming it. So that means you are possessing a skill, but you're not professing it as you should be applicable to it in the profession. So if both the things are not done, negligence is countable on these two counts. So if you are attempting a surgery and you're not doing it beyond your level of competence, then whatever message you send, that might be only to keep your side safe. It is not in any ways going to undo the harm done to the patient. Then the beneficence and non-maleficence come into role as well. So there are multiple aspects into that. But yes, the bottom line is surely that whatever it is, whatever message we send, we are guilty that we try to jump beyond our skill set ambit. We could not do that extraction, but we still try to do that. So that is where, yes, you couldn't do that. Have a standby, call the surgeon, make the patient wait half an hour maybe. Then you can do it on the same day. But postponing it another day is a negligence error. If the patient turns up on second day and the surgeon is able to do that, or if you are able to do that, thank your stars. Thank your stars, nothing else. But if the patient doesn't come up next day, it is very much normal. And the patient coming up with a legal notice is again very much normal in such cases.
Amazing. So I really resonate with what you've said. Learn to say no. Like you should be very particular with your, case selection criteria. You should know what are. I heard my mentor saying that the best doctor is the one who knows what not to do. So these are the things to be kept in mind. Sir, we move on to maintenance. Like we dentist, हम लोगों को ऐसा है कि आज कितने patient थे और क्या treatment है. That's it. Like we don't care much about record maintenance. So how important is record maintenance? What all should be noted in record maintenance?
See, there are a lot of things which can be, say, a part of record keeping, because record keeping is like an instant manual, I always believe. So I believe what it should include, even if somebody is not using a software, he can use this on a normal Excel file. I actually had a workshop on this in the month of December 2020 also on dental record keeping. So what I believe, the number one thing which should be mentioned is the medical history of diseases, any medications being taken by the patient, any allergies to any medication, alcohol history, and then pregnancy history in females, or maybe even for the normal periods, or any mismatch in that should be taken, because especially if it is concerning the gum problems. So then what drugs you have prescribed based on avoidance of any allegations later that you didn't take proper any history or not. Then one column should be dedicated to the chief complaint of the patient. Then treatment advised oblique treatment is given accordingly, or whatever is to be done. Then the next column should be treatment administered actually. So then any special comments which will cover any variations in treatment which advised but not followed by the patient, or any things which you want to make a note that this patient is not coming on time, this patient is not paying properly. If you want to add anything in that special comments, so any special instructions, and maybe the next appointment. So even those who are not actually doing in a software, they can do it in a normal Excel mode rather than just the register deep format, name, patient age, address, and the treatment and charges. That is a different kind of thing if you're doing manually, but I would advise a digital way of doing, at least for most of the patients. And record keeping, may I always wish to add two more columns: the PSOR, patient source of referral, and the patient's socioeconomic background. These actually parameters throw a lot of light on whatever I want to actually say calculate from that. I want to say draw an inference from that what I believe can be my recipe for growth. Some people have a further segregation at the end of the month: number of crowns done, number of scalings done, number of composites done, number of extractions done. You can do that. It actually gives you a benchmark or a milestone to actually look back that maybe this much procedures contributed to this much amount of work. So it is kind of a, say, lot of advantageous position if you're doing a comprehensive record keeping. And now, as per the DCI regulations, record keeping is anyways must. So one who is not doing record keeping is actually falling under the sojourn of unethical scenario himself.
Amazing. So as we know now, one can infer definitely keeping a record has already advantages and less of disadvantages. I'll move on to my next question. Does record maintenance has its role in medical legal aspect as well? I know answer is yes, but if you could elaborate a bit on this.
You mentioned very less disadvantages. I would say there are no disadvantages. There are only advantages and only advantages. But yes, it has a big role in medical legal aspects. There is a proverb that we use in medical legal language: poor record is poor defense, no record is no defense. So if you're not having any record, that is actually like hitting yourself on the aches yourself. Say na, पाँव पे कुल्हाड़ा मार लिया, कुल्हाड़े पे पाँव मार लिया. Dentists are known to be the one who are doing a bungee jumping on the kulhada or the eggs. So that is where we commit a mistake actually. And trust me, if people, whenever they come across a medical complaint, the first thing they do is OPD card लिया, patient का फाड़ दिया. हम तो patient को जानते ही नहीं है. So अपने हाथ में जो एक proof था, अपने हाथ से destroy कर दिया. So they actually don't know only that what mistakes they are committing. So we need to understand that yes, these should be taken care of. The snapshot is the most dangerous thing. You post a message and you delete it within those 2-3 seconds. Sometimes some people are very smart enough to take the use of word first in and best is prohibited as per the DCI. हमने तो अच्छा ही किया था, इनको समझ नहीं आई. People believe that if they work more, they will earn more. That is what I will say, they are living in a false paradise. We actually commit a mistake. We try to indulge in, देखो ये मेरा before after, ये मेरा ठंडा पानी पीने से relief मिलता है in a deep cavity. You know what it is, but let the patient speak. Doctor ठंडा पानी पीते हो ना? हाँ मैं समझ गया. The recall is given after 15 days, but the patient does not return after 3 months or so. Yes, doctor pain तो ठीक ही हो गया, मैं आया ही नहीं, मुझे लगा temporary ही पक्का हो गया. To raise your charges post COVID, बचता ही नहीं है पैसे. So because बचता इसलिए नहीं है because you don't charge. Being expensive is not an abuse. People call Father's Day, I am like your father, do it, future. So don't pay me less, rather pay me more. Sorry, sir, you are in wrong place. That is the door. The parent says, sorry, I am not ready to pay the fee. He says, sorry, we are not tell the rates also. Understand, nahi, ye doctor अच्छा, ye doctor सियाना है. That is the success is the sum of small efforts which we repeat day in and day out. Sometimes we are too interested in the proceedings that we forget the process itself.